My father was a hero to me. Sometimes you could love someone so much that any mishaps they may have, you don't even notice it because you're just in awe of this person. I think that's how I felt about my father.
How old were you when he was incarcerated? Our guest today is Malik Scott, former professional heavyweight boxer. He's trained Deontay Wilder and many more. He's a student of life. He's a father. He's an entrepreneur. The book that changed his life and had an impact on him at a very early age is Into the Wild. Try that and see how you...
Let's see right off the rip. The brand of the ginger beer is usually a telltale. But go on. One more. And we don't scale a 1 to 10, correct? Considering the presentation, all of the lime, I'm very big on details of lime being, and it's served in a mule cup. That's everything. The vintage, with your boots mixing my vision. I'm gonna go with a 10 plus the taste.
Oh,
very much.
That's awesome. That's that's high praise.
Yes, it's very good.
What do you think of the library so far?
I'm impressed with it coming from a standpoint of the vintage look, the artistic look. It comes across, there's tons of books in here, but it's more than a library feel. It comes across as more of a historian feel, more of an artsy feel. And it has this spooky but fun feel as well. It reminds me of the library on one of my favorite books of The Never-Ending Story. When the kid, he hid up in the attic library on top of the school. And that's what it put me in the mind of, the library from the movie, The Never-Ending Story.
Do you think because you wouldn't expect this to be here when you're outside?
Well, the first thing that was very impressive, pink is my favorite color. And y'all have 2 big doors that's pink. Mm-hmm. That's right there. So the entry right off the rip is very impressive. Just for the big taste of things that I like. That would maybe consider small for others, but I'm very impressed thus far.
Who are some designers that you like, designers or artists, but that you appreciate?
I'm gonna go with genres from all across, right? So we'll say I'm very big on Shakespeare.
Wow.
I consider Shakespeare artists.
So do you understand King Lear?
Pieces. But there's also, I'm very big on, we'll say that the artistry of Picasso. But what I'm very big on about Picasso is you have to be so in tune with his work and notice how he will actually put things together to express his work. So it's like his paintings, like if you just look at it with your naked eye, someone would look at a Picasso painting and say, especially modern day, humans would say, I don't like that. But when you get the story behind it and you notice little scribbles and things like that he was piecing together to explain the art, it make you have a lot more appreciation for it. And that goes down to music, my love for Marvin Gaye, my love for Lana Del Rey, my love for Sade. And then I could hop right over to Rolling Stones, and I can hop right down to the Doors and go back up to Miles Davis. So like there's so many things artistically that I love in this world that has to do with entertainment. But then some things, like this library, is what I would consider like the subtle things in life that has a lot of meaningful to it.
Yeah, and I would contend that it's just books without the interaction and the human connection and the learning. That's what makes a library.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's just books,
yes,
right?
But I would say, to piggyback off what you said, I would say that the first library I could remember myself being in was Richard R. Wright Library. It's a middle school in Philadelphia, elementary or middle school in Philadelphia. And it was very, very standard. And if kids was used to just ripping and running in playgrounds and waiting to recess, that wasn't the library to really make you gravitate to it.
You weren't sneaking in there at
No,
lunch?
you was not. No. You'll rather go somewhere else than that library. But even those kind of libraries, me coming up as a kid, it was tons of books, and I would go searching to see if anything could find me. Like, you notice, if a book could find me, because I'm very big on like reading books that gravitate to me. Like, you know what I mean? I may be looking for one book, but then I end up falling for something, another type of read over here. And usually that's the read that I gravitate to, the one that I accidentally stumbled upon.
The question was posed to you, like, what is a book that affected you and, you know, has a deep meaning?
Yes.
And Into the Wild is the book that you picked.
Yeah.
How old were you when you discovered this?
1997, it was the year of the Junior Olympics. Was I 16, 17, I believe, something like that?
So pretty young.
Yeah, definitely a teenager, definitely.
How the book comes into your life, do you believe that that's some sort of higher power? Is it by chance?
I believe we'll just say for the sake of spirituality, I believe that God, I believe that the universe at times put things in your path that's for you, that's to inspire you, that's to strengthen you, that's to make you believe that whatever it is you're going through, there's people that come from different walks of life that may possibly going through them same things. And I'm someone that I thrive off of seeing people win. I thrive off of watching the underdogs get on top. I thrive off of people going through trials and tribulations and still smiling through a tough day. And my connection with that book during that time was Christopher McCandless. This kid, at this age, he was 24, 23, 24. But he was in a time where temptation was at an all-time high, and he came from a good home. And when I say good home, I mean financially. But him and his dad and his mom, they had a very rocky relationship. And usually it's when you say a kid had problems with his parents, it's just one or something like that. He had issues with both of his parents, but he had a good relationship with his sister. And his parents loved him so much still, even though they had the issues in house and things that he would see, that they actually gave him $25,000 to start college for his, just to get started with his college routine. And he was so against things being given to him. He was so against believing in that once you're done high school, you just have to go to college and do things the so-called quote-unquote society American way, that he ended up giving that whole check to a charity. And he did this on his mission when he was getting rid of any money that he had. So we'll say his last days, his last cash was like $124. He has pictures of it when he literally is burning the money. He has pictures of it when he got rid of all of his ID. This kid really, this wasn't like this trip that he took and this journey that he went on, it wasn't some cheap thrill. Like nowadays, a cheap thrill to me would be something like people love the bungee jump, and they have this thing of an odyssey that they like to go about. They have a thing, it's like a rites of passage that is in all cultures. And you find kids and you find some even older adults, they like to do things to make themselves feel like, if I could do this one thing, this would make up for anything that I may have couldn't do in the rest of my life with other things. And at that time in my life, I've never won a national tournament. I never traveled anywhere and did things on my own with no help besides the actual craft that I was doing, which is boxing.
So at that point at 16, what is your relationship with your parents?
At that point of 16, my relationship with my parents was good, but at the same time, my father was incarcerated, but we had a relationship from home to penitentiary phone calls. And my mom, she was always, when he was gone, a single mother that loved us, but obviously she couldn't be our mom and father, but she did her best.
How old were you when he was incarcerated?
Oh, he was in and out the penitentiary my whole life. He did a 9-year run. He would come home, then stay home for a year, then leave, then go. But the real peculiar thing about that is it never left me with a bitter sense of feel inside. If anything, me and him continued to get closer, even if it was through letters, even if it was through visits. My father was a street gangster, and at the same time, fortunately, unfortunately, he was like a hero to me. He was someone that I could talk to. the only person I ever trusted. He was my best friend. And when he passed away, as I got older, I realized like certain things I went without, I was blind to because my actual love for him. Like, you get what I mean by that? Sometimes you could love someone so much and I don't want to say idolize, but you could just love them so much that any mishaps they may have, you don't even notice it because you're just in awe of this person. I think that's how I felt about my father. I loved him so much that any mishaps he had that caused him to go to the penitentiary, being a gangster, I didn't think nothing of it. I was just happy to see him, happy to talk to him, happy that I had someone to trust. And that's something Christopher McCandless never had.
In the book Into the Wild, his relationship with his parents, even though they're present,
Yes.
is disconnected.
Yes.
Even though your father is incarcerated, you had a closer relationship or a more intimate relationship with your father.
Absolutely, a strong one.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, very, very beautiful. And
how do you avoid not following in his footsteps?
we come from the trenches in North Philadelphia. But coming from the trenches don't mean you come from absolutely nothing. Like, you know what I mean? My mom, my grandma, my aunt, my uncles, they did a very good job making sure I knew the difference between right and wrong. And things that I may had to learn on my own, I could just say like, it never was, God truly was with me because there's so many avenues I could have went that I didn't go. But I almost went those wrong routes coming up in North Philadelphia, which is easy and it will be very understandable for anyone to understand how temptation for a young black man can get caught up into things. But I found boxing, boxing came before my love for my dad. Boxing is—
At what age?
12 years old.
So you're 12 and you start boxing.
Yeah.
Are you naturally good at it?
Absolutely not.
Do you have like a coach that engages you and encourages you?
Yes, I
Who
met
was
a
that?
coach. His name was Fred Jenkins. When my father was gone, he was my father. The routes that I just explained to you that I almost went thinking I was going to be a street punk at times, this is a man that would get out of his bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, leave his own family. When my mom didn't know where I was at, I would be just running the streets and he would come and get me, throw me in his van and take me home and say, I want to see you at the gym at 3 p.m. And if this happened again, I'm going to do more than grip you up and bring you home. You're going to have to really deal with me in a physical manner. Whatever I would have to deal with from your family, I have to deal with. But you're going to do the right thing in life.
How do you process that when you're 12?
Being so the fact I came from a form of righteousness with a grandmother that was a Christian and another grandmother that was a Buddhist and my mom was Islamic at the time that she had me. I come from knowing the difference between right and wrong, and when he told me that, I got on board because he also gave me a promise. He said, if whatever it is we doing in a year or two, you're not national champion, you don't get no big name or nothing, he was like, you can go do whatever you want. And before a year was up, I won my first tournament. Then after that, it just became more and more and more, and I just stuck to it.
So he kind of breaks your pattern.
Yes.
He manufactures some success for you, in a sense, that gives you self-esteem and confidence?
Besides the actual being of saying, I'm a city kid, I'm tough. Confidence has to come past that when you're going to compete.
You have to prove, right?
You have to prove.
You have to win some fights.
Absolutely. And he made sure not just that he was teaching me how to fight, he made sure that he was teaching me how to teach. He was making sure he taught me how to go about things in life. You want to know what's funny? It's because things in my life, different lessons remind me so much of this book. And I say that to say, like, the things that I had that Christopher McCandless didn't have, like I had a Fred Jenkins. I believe if Christopher McCandless had a Fred Jenkins, a childhood trainer like I have, I don't think he probably would have been into taking these journeys and feeling extremely lonely a lot like he had no one to understand him. Fred Jenkins kind of was the one to do that with me coming up. And he made me believe in myself so much, not just when I was around him, like when I would go miles and miles out of different states and he would literally just let me go and just represent the gym. And I did pretty well and it worked out good because boxing, what I noticed, has became the tool for so many other avenues I've been able to walk in life. It's the tool to so many relationships that I have in life. It's the tool on why I'm able to give my kids jewels and gems on how to carry those gems in life, to know how to, you could say, carry themselves through this tough world, because it's tough, and you have to have a backpack of armor. And prayer is one of the weapons you have to have. That could be to your God, that could be to the universe, but you have to have some form of spirituality getting through these times. You just have to. And that's something that I knew after Fred Jenkins, mixed in with my grandmother always praying for me, mixing with my grandma Gwen always chanting for me Buddhism, and mixing with, I come from a Muslim town and everything is Islam alaikum, wa alaikum assalam. So I've always had people praying for me, and things, you know, really, really went my way. You know, I'm extremely grateful for how far I got, especially with the mindset that I have on this journey of mine.
Well, I mean, it's an incredible thing to have access to Buddhism, all of that, Christianity, being so young.
It could be a bit confusing too, because, you know, I mean, you have, my grandmother was, 4 times a week at church. She would come get me during the weekends. My grandmother was always at the altar, you can say, and chanting, and everything I did. When my friends would come over to the house, they would, "What's your grandma doing back there?" She's chanting, "Nam Yoho Ring Kingo, Nam Yoho Ring Kingo, Nam Yoho Ring Kingo." And that's the spirituality that she took on. And she passed that on to not just myself. I have a son that's 19 years old. And before she passed last year, she even had him at the Buddhist center. And he chants now. And he has his own spirituality that he goes about with his walk in life. So these gems been passed on. And when I sit back and look at it, I wouldn't trade my life for not one life that I've ever came across in this world. And I came across some beautiful people, some rich people, some people that's extremely rich in spirit. But I believe my life was set up perfectly. I give all glory to God for that, for the kind of person that I am. Everything that come my way, I can handle it. And on my awful days, I still find a way to smile. And to me, that's all you really can ask of, not just of any man, but any human, because we all in this after the same thing, and that's trying to be better than we was the day before. None of us is better than each other. We're all just trying to be better than the person we was the day before.
Do you think that sort of outlook that I would consider healthy and, kind of positive in nature comes from being good at sports early and having something that you were good at, it became a part of your identity, and then having a mentor that gave you responsibility?
Yeah.
And do you think that's where that comes from?
I think everything with me comes from my embracement for strangers. I truly, truly believe that. I truly believe that everything I am is because of the way I embrace strangers. I have a non-judgmental mindset. I'm always trying to learn. I'm infatuated with the homeless man on the corner. If he know how to talk straight, I can have just as much as a good conversation with him as I can sitting here with you. And I believe me just having an open mind and having a feel and an understanding and having compassion that my way is not the only way that's right or wrong. Your way is not the only way that's right or wrong. But if we share different perspectives of our walks in life, then I think we both could leave a conversation a lot better than we came. So it even goes back to what I just said before. It's all about, a lot of times, I think a lot of us on this journey of life, we're always indirectly in competition with, you can say, one another, when the real, to me, secret to spirituality is most of us are in competition with ourselves. We don't even know it. We mask it through making it seem like, well, he or she got that, I need to have that. Look at it like most of us are in competition with ourselves. I don't have mirror issues, and I know the man or the person or human being I'm in competition with the most, and it's me. I'm always trying to make myself proud more than anybody, and that comes with selfishness too. I have a lot of selfish ways in that aspect. I'm always trying to make myself proud. I'm always into not worrying about what you could say haters. I have so many people that is believers of me too. So I'm always trying to make them proud as well. It's very rarely that I entertain negativity, and it's because I have so much positive to focus on.
You make that a priority. It doesn't happen by chance.
No, that's a huge priority, and I make it my business every day. I come from a world and I live in a type of bubble where I could be ridiculed, I could be judged, and I made a decision to take this journey and know this what comes with it. So it's almost like I don't throw stones and hide my hands. I'm a professional, former professional high-level boxer, and now I'm a world-renowned boxing trainer, and I'm a big personality, and all of these things come with being judged. It comes with the territory, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love my life, even with the ups and downs. And it's because I have a sense of a good feel of gratefulness of knowing that I didn't have to wake up this morning.
When you say like most people approach things like it's a competition, I find that there's kind of two parts to that for me that I've observed. I'm curious what you think. One is that most of the time, people look at things like a competition, interactions, conversations, and the outcome of that is somebody has to lose for somebody to win.
Yes.
The true meaning of life, I think, is all the stuff in between, not the winning and the losing, but the collaboration and the understanding.
In between.
And not judging people on the symptoms because, you know, somebody might have had a hard time and the symptoms or what they're portraying in the world is maybe not that attractive, but behind all that is a real person and they have a story and they got there somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But if you cannot judge on the, you know, the spikes that they're putting out as a protection mechanism.
Exactly what I'm saying. Yes.
Don't react to the symptom, try to understand.
Try to understand the person. And I'm very big on that. I believe everyone has a story. I believe that everyone has a reason. I'm gonna share something. I have this, I don't wanna say addiction. I have this love, you can say, for insane logic is what I like to call it. So we'll say like, I'm a huge ID Discovery Channel type of guy. I'm huge on forensic files. I'm huge on horror flicks. I'm huge on, I'm not huge on serial killers, but I'm huge on the stories and the plots of how people have did certain things. And it's not even about them getting caught or getting captured. The insane logic, how someone can go about doing something that's extremely treacherous, that's a whole disaster, but in their mind, they have a reason for this. Whatever that seed is, I've always had a huge, you could say, interest in it. If I never was a boxer, I'm sure I would have been something like, not a psychiatrist, but what is it called when, you could say like when Charles Manson, he went to the penitentiary, they would have people come in and he would tell them exactly, I mean, he would really release to these people exactly how they would feel. They wasn't cops, they wasn't detectives, they was like correspondents, you can say. I believe my avenue would have been something like that. Not because I want to catch these bad people and put them in jail, because that's the law job to do that, but it's just to hear they point on things, because all this start as a seed. You could show me the meanest person in the world that did the most treacherous acts. I know for sure that when he was born, he was an innocent baby, just like I was when I was born. Mm-hmm. These things build up on people, and whatever this build up is, I've always had a huge interest for, like always.
We all kind of start like a blank slate. How did this?
How does this get there? And I'm even like that in boxing. That's the way I teach. So we'll say most people, and especially we are in at an ultimate high of an instant gratification time. So that means most people aren't into the actual sports. They're into the highlights. It's the reels. I've always been the kind of person that I could see an incredible knockout in the 6th round. I would have to go back and watch round 1 through 5 to see how it was done, because that build up to that, especially if you're dealing with a systematic fighter, somebody that's very surgical. No, that was set up. And how you learn in boxing and to me in combat sports is not being into the highlights. You learn by seeing what set up this knockout that you keep rewinding. The lesson is not in the knockout. The lesson is in how did this set up? What system was used? I need to go back to listen to what his trainer was saying to him in the corner. I need to go see how he gravitated to the information. I need to go see how he was fainting before he knocked out. I need to see how many times he just missed that punch that finally landed.
There's a parallel there between your views on not judging.
Mm-hmm. In a sense.
Yeah, they're trying to, because the knockout is the symptom or the end.
Yes.
But what was the story that got us there?
What was the how in the process?
You know, the takeaway is we're not doing enough for these kids.
Yes.
Like These kids are helpless.
Yes, and that right there is the accountability part on, you could say, the system, the law, or whoever. Because the real fact is, if the help is given before the seed is actually even grown into that, those type of things may not happen. If you're keeping your right hand up when you're going to your right side, then you won't get hit with a left hook when you're going to that side. You won't be a highlight room if you hold yourself accountable defensively. Kind of like how combat sports is, especially boxing, the way you train, the way the accountability you hold of yourself, especially defensively, it plays all the way out. The most successful boxer of all time is Floyd Mayweather, but at the same time, they call him the most defensive fighter. Like it's been fighters way more entertaining, but haven't been as successful, because I believe it's much more accountability and defense, making sure something don't happen to you, than it is on being gung-ho on you doing something to somebody. Offense is always going to be there, but you have to defend yourself to get good offense going on.
Yeah, that's incredible. Okay, so let's go back. So you're 16.
Mm-hmm.
How do you come across the book Into the Wild? How does it come into your life?
I went to, ironically, I went to a high school. It was an agriculture high school. And in the morning, I used to ride horse. They used to have me walk the horses, ride the horses, clean up pigs, milk cows and everything. But the library to that spot was pretty cool. Now, also, I lived on 26 in Montgomery during this time in North Philly, and we had a bookstore in the neighborhood, but it was so crowded. I mean, crowded with books. So you ever been like in these small book spots, crowded? And I came across this book in there, but I didn't have no money to buy it. So I was looking at the book, and then in my lot, when I went to school and asked the teacher, did they have the book in the library? And it was actually in the library. So I start reading there, and I'm trying to think, was it 16 or 17, whichever year, because it was 96, 97. From there on, I start reading it during the time.
Do you check it out? Do you take the book home?
Yes, but I
kept it. So you go home.
It.
You never returned it?
Yeah, I never returned it.
Do you know how much you owe?
I know.
And
then
late fees
it has stacked up, yes.
It's probably like $2
it has
million
stacked up,
yeah.
Especially by now, right?
Yeah, that's funny. So you take the book home. Do you start reading it at home or at school, or when?
I started reading it at school in between when I would walk horses and things like that.
Did you preview it in the bookstore?
Mm-hmm. I previewed it in the bookstore.
You read the first chapter, or what did you do?
No, I just read the back of it, and then I skimmed through pictures.
And what about it interested you?
I read a paragraph in it, and it said that he was doing like a lot of small kills to survive. And that means that he didn't even know what he was doing for big. He didn't even know how to hunt big, but he would kill like things like squirrels. And after he would kill the squirrels, he would take pictures of them. It was something about that made me believe this is somebody that is using what they got to get what they want. And I've always been very, very big on, you can say, that type of attitude, that type of way of life, whatever.
Self-made, underdog.
Yes. And that right there, when I went to the library in the school the next day, I asked for it, and I never forget, what was it? The librarian said it just got there like 2 weeks ago. Because at this time it's new. John Krakauer had just put this book out in 96, and this is 97 when I first got it. So I'm reading it every morning, and the first time I read it, I'm like, oh, this is good, but I wanted to read it again. I read the book probably now 16, 17 times. 30 years come by now. Sean Penn, who was probably, now I'm going to say one of my favorite actors, but he was an actor that I was very familiar with coming up as a kid. I'm looking at TV, and Sean Penn is doing a movie about this book that I was reading when I was a kid. The movie was perfect for me, because now the pictures, like the mental cinema that I was doing when I was reading it, using my imagination, Sean Penn, he hit it directly on the button. And that this kid was, like I said, he wasn't looking for a cheap thrill. He had everything that one man or one kid could want. He had $25,000 scholarship money from his parents. He came from a home that was financially set. It was disturbing as far as arguments and things like that between his parents, but no one in his position as a kid would have chose to do that, especially during that time. He really wanted to not get a cheap thrill. He wanted to find out soulfully who he really was and what he really can do. And
he thought that to do that, he would isolate himself.
he would
Strip himself
of everything that society say we all need to live and survive.
Like,
honestly,
have you
it's
ever
two
had the
halves.
feeling that you wanna go live in isolation somewhere?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Walk me through that.
That actually, I did a lot of traveling as a kid coming up, and my favorite part has always been like, okay, so I'm not going to be at where I'm from. I'm going to be somewhere else where I know nobody. So the blessings in that is I get to spend a lot of time alone, and anybody that I meet that is new, they're coming from different walks of life. They're not from my city. They're not from my gym. They have news stories. They have, in some places, different type of cultures.
But you're describing like going to a different place. There's nobody to talk to, right?
Yeah. Do you like being alone?
I do, but not for long periods of time. I'm very comfortable.
What's your time frame of being alone? Can you be somewhere for 3 weeks by yourself?
I mean, I could, but I don't know that I would manufacture that.
I got you. Okay.
I could, but I would probably start to feel disconnected. I mean, I don't want to put, for me personally, I don't need to put too much validity into me. Like I'm not that special. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right,
I probably get more out of contributing than I would. I can only talk about myself so much.
Right. You look at it like I'm not even worth that. Right. I understand. Yeah.
I'm way more interested in other people. And so I could do it. I'm very comfortable by myself and my own thoughts, and I enjoy that. Like I enjoy being by myself. Sometimes I enjoy reading.
Some people absolutely do not like being alone, and I do not understand how you can live like that. I don't.
Most of the time that comes from other places.
Yes,
it's they're chasing something, and if the chaos stops, they like I always say that about people that screw me over or whatever. I'm like, it's fine. They wake up every day and that's who they are.
Yes, because the punishment really is within. That's who you are. You do this and you have to go to sleep knowing you're that kind of person. Yeah, I understand.
Well, and I would contend that the reason why they had to win and I had to lose was they're feeding a monster that can't be fed. And kind of to what you were saying before is it's real relationships are about collaboration. They're not about winning or losing.
No, it's about the process.
So if I have to lose in a situation and somebody feels good about that, okay, but they're going to keep doing that.
Yes.
And eventually.
Because that's who they are.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good way of looking at that.
But I'm not, I don't need to win. I don't need to be right. Like, I want to understand. And
yes.
I know, I kind of have a good sense of what right and wrong is in situations or what a good deal is and a bad deal. But I don't know. I'm not perfect.
Have you ever felt misunderstood in your life?
Oh, I think I walk around feeling misunderstood.
Are you okay with that?
I only feel bad about that when it affects other people, when they're confused. Like I was talking about this earlier today. Like people meet me and they want to put me in a category. So like, what do you do? Well, I do a lot of stuff. Like I own businesses. I have art. I write. I have a library.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do I have to be a thing? Do I have to be a thing?
For this to be something.
You want me to say I'm a chef. You want me to say I'm a whatever. And I don't.
How do you answer that?
Well, I mean, it's hard to answer it because when you start to answer it, people just are like, listen, this is the real thing that's happening underneath that nobody says this is small talk. I only asked you what you do as a formality. I didn't really want to know. And I didn't know I was going to get all this on me.
Right.
And that's when I feel bad. And so I just try to assess the situation and give an answer that makes everybody comfortable.
Like I don't know how to meet someone, and one of the first questions I ask them, well, what is it that you do? Because I think like that's inevitable.
I'm more curious how you think than what you do.
Absolutely, I'm way more curious about your mindset and
what
how
do you know, and what have you learned, and what do you see?
What's your interest? Yes.
What do you see that I don't see?
Yes, me too.
And then very quickly you're like, you have some things you got to work out. Like and maybe I've had those same things, and I can. Tell you from a point of view of I've dealt with that too, and it's not easy or whatever, but
And
there's no magic or miracle pill or, right?
Yeah, and that, to me, that's how any, we could say relationships, any kind of relationship or any type of bond to me should be built from off of those type of stakes right there. Not about what you do, not about what can someone do for you. Just go through the process of getting to know what someone's interest is, getting to know how someone go about thinking, knowing someone's culture. These are things that everyone will have interest in, though. Like, you know what I mean? Everyone is not interested in it. That's something I've noticed too, like on this second half part of my life. I'm 43 years old, proudly, 43 years young. So I noticed that like it's almost like that's it's like blasphemous almost for people to really want to get to actually know you and separate whatever it is that you do. Because most people, you'll be surprised nowadays, people are dying for association off whatever they perceive to be success. Whatever they perceive to be success, they just want to be associated with it. You could be...
It's like an Instagram profile.
Yeah, there you go.
It's curated.
You hipped on, right?
There's a really, really smart guy that is, I've learned from him. His name is Andrew Bustamante, and he was in the CIA. Have you heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
How did you hear about him?
No, I'm on a Google thing. That name came across my radar when you said that.
He's very empathetic and sweet, but really crazy smart. And so he comes from a place similar to you where he's trying to understand, but he also understands that some things just aren't right or, you know. And one of the things that he explained to me that kind of made a lot of sense was he said, we have 3 masks. We have the mask we show everybody. We have the mask that only the closest friends see. And then we have the mask that nobody sees. And to me, this middle mask is more interesting than the Instagram profile. Okay, so back to Into the Wild. The interesting thing to me is that you're comparing yourself to him at an early age, and you're doing an inventory of the things that you had that made you not go the way he did, in a sense.
I think the difference between me and someone like Christopher McCandless is he's an extremeness to the core. And that's I want to double back on something you said. You said, well, sometimes I could admire someone for them living out a thought that I may have. That thing you just said, like being hypothetical, someone did that, whether it's right or wrong. Sometimes I just want to get on a plane and just go. Yeah. Well, do I really want to do that? Yeah, emotionally. But I really don't want to do that. But what I will do is admire this person right here who I know just did it. So I can live vicariously through my thoughts, through the person that's actually doing what I'm saying when I'm in the moment or what I'm saying when I'm in the mood. And I think that right there is the connection that I feel extremely close with when it comes to Christopher McCandless, like that right there. Because, I mean, we all have gotten in the mood sometimes. I remember even as a kid, you could hear your mom and grandmom and friends saying, sometimes I just want to go away and just go by myself and just have no one around and just look at trees and just stay away from everybody for a month. Christopher McCandless did it for 3 months, and he lived off the land. And he did that for reasons of turning his back on the ways of society. So I think like a lot of the connection, not just with Christopher McCandless, sometimes I admire people because they're able to live out things that I'm only saying when I'm possibly just in the mood.
And it's extreme.
And it's extreme.
So you admire him for actually like doing the thing that most people, very few people would do at all. When it comes to your relationship with books, how many books do you read in a given year? I know every year is probably a little different, but on average?
I will say I don't read so many books per year. Is because once I get a good book, I like to read it 3, 4, 5 times, especially because once I read a book, I get into the author. I automatically, I want to know the author. I want to know where the author come from. I want to know if the author is into anything like he's writing about or like he's explaining. So if I get a good book and then I start digging the author, I'll stay in that book for a good 4 or 5 reads.
Do you do the same thing with music where you want to know the producer and the songwriter?
Absolutely.
Isn't it funny that people don't have any
connection besides the actual you're hearing the
Yeah.
good. Yeah, no.
I
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
always want to know like who wrote it, who produced
Yeah,
it.
before I was a teen, early teens, I knew Marvin Gaye's whole story. Like early teens, I knew how he passed. I knew everything about him. I knew his relationship with Barry Gordy. I knew when he got signed to Motown. This was a teenager because I can't hear something that inspires me and make me become a better me. Because one would say, well, how does a song by Marvin Gaye make you a better you? Well, it may be a day I don't feel like doing nothing, and I hear Inner City Blues, and it make me say, you know what? I'm gonna get out there and go and get it. Because these lyrics that he's saying, it's like, oh, they really hitting. And that's just not what Marvin Gaye, that's what music does to me in general. Music is like, it's beyond the inspiration. It's that shot that you need in the morning. It's that energy you drink. It's that feel of, I refuse to be lazy. I refuse to sit on this couch. When I got Marvin Gaye, or we'll say hip hop Tupac Shakur, saying whatever it is that he's saying, that is saying basically be a go-getter. And I've always had that. And people inspire. I don't understand how someone can inspire you and you not want to know the actual person.
Yeah, it's
Like you got to
it
want
lacks
to.
substance.
Yes,
No,
yes.
you want the substance.
I want the substance. That's very important to me because then I'm very good at separating the artist from the art. If you're a piece of shit person, but you make great music, I could say, I don't dig you, but I love your sound. And I could have absolutely no type of relationship at y'all because you have to know sometimes people genius are in their artistry. You know what I mean? You have to respect that, especially if it's good. And then they may not be as good as a person, as good as a musician that they are. You know what I mean?
Can you give me an example?
I'm gonna give you an example. We'll say I'm gonna say names, so it's cool. So we'll say, let me give you an actor example. Billy D. Williams, right? Billy D. Williams was smooth, cool, ladies' man on camera. But the stories and the things that I would hear from so many different sources when I got older was like, that was all this. He was totally opposite behind the camera. He was not like that. So like, we'll even say like, there's a certain, I'm not gonna say her name, there's a certain lady musician, R&B artist that's incredible. So many people love her. But I hear like in person, in real life, she's just a snob to most people. Like, you know what I mean? You hear these things, not just in music, but in, that's why they say sometimes it's good to just know your heroes from a distance. The worst thing you could do sometimes is meet people that inspire you through their artistry. You know what I mean? I've heard that so many times.
Well, don't you experience that when sometimes people meet you, they already have, you're like an art piece and they've already interpreted your meaning and put a meaning to it. And you're like, oh, well, that's a fictional, like.
Yes. So then even in that case, you have to understand the artist, or you have to understand the actors in those cases, because just because you like me for being a great gymnastic, like when you see me and I don't have that same uppity spirit that I do after I do a quadruple flip, like don't judge me off of that. I'm not in that place. I'm not in that art right now when I do that. I'm just chilling. I'm at the coffee shop and I'm with my family and I don't want to talk to nobody.
So I have here, I have a pressing of Michael Jackson's Thriller on vinyl.
Yeah.
It's I think it's MoFi. It's one of those high-end pressings of it that sounds absolutely incredible.
Vinyl?
Yeah. And it's, when you listen to it, it's like hearing Thriller for the first time. And I had somebody say like, oh, how dare you play that because of Michael in the whole thing. And I was like, oh, maybe okay, I'm sorry, but you don't hear Quincy Jones, you don't hear Jeff on drums, you don't hear Eddie Van Halen on guitar.
Right,
like
you're missing all of that.
Like,
yes.
It's just one thing to you. Like it's and I think that's one of the things, right? Is it's like now that, you know, you're put in a box, but a lot of people aren't looking at the whole, it's bigger than just that, you know?
Yes, big time.
That's like Quincy's fingerprints are all over that.
All over, yes.
From a production and the engineering, I mean, it's just sonically incredible, the songwriting.
Yes.
It's nuts.
But most people is literally hearing just the obvious. And it goes back to the substance behind it. Most is just not into. Most, I don't want to say most. There's a lot of people that's into behind the curtain substance.
They're just not the ones that talk as much.
Yes. Big time.
Like us, they're more quiet.
The ones that talk too much is into just the curtain. Right.
They're quicker to judge, which is funny.
Have you ever been judgmental?
Yeah. I think when I was younger.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's a time for
and
that
I would
too.
say if I'm honest, it was a protection mechanism. Kind of to what we were talking about before is I was working so hard and moving so fast, trying so hard to be relevant that I didn't realize that I already was relevant.
Right.
I'm trying to prove something to everybody else, and really I needed to stop and look in the mirror.
For yourself, absolutely.
And just stop for a second. And most of the things that you judge other people for, you're guilty of. And so it's a funny contradiction in the sense that when you're judging others, you're usually
judging.
pointing out the things that you might be doing.
Yes, or are.
Yeah. And I would say I'm pretty good. I could be good at that. I might have mastered that when I was younger.
Do you think is any good in being judgmental? Because how do you choose your company if you're not judging? How do you choose who's allowed in your circle? How do you separate clowns from substance? How do you know? That's to me another thing that society have raised, that the word judgmental, it has such a bad connotation to it because it's almost like it makes people feel like, who is he to judge? Well, who am I to judge? Let me tell you who I am to judge. I'm the judge because I want to make sure I keep my circle tight. I'm the judge because I don't want no poison coming into my circle. I'm the judge because I don't want no nonsense around me and my family. So judging, being selfish, all of these things is a time and place for them. You just can't. I'm very big on there's nothing wrong with using people, but to misuse people is extremely wrong. Because even myself, I don't mind, once again, the words sometimes that throw people off, and these things could sound more tragic than they are. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with no one using me as long as you're not misusing me or taking me for granted. But if I can help you on your journey for whatever it is that you're doing, that's what I'm here for. I look at it like God put this together for a reason. And then even saying that, I think the world a little bit should be set up like that a lot more. You know what I mean? The judgmental part should be taken out. Because I think we all should help each other out to get to the next stages in their life. We all should want other people to win, whether we know them or not. You don't have to be my friend for me to want you to win. We all should want good for each other. We all should want good for each other.
I agree 100%. There is a variable in that, though, that I think I have learned to deal with as I get older, in the sense that oftentimes I have seen the full potential in people, and I have wanted them to pursue that full potential more than them.
More than them, yes.
And so I don't see it as judging. I see it as assessing the situation.
Right.
But they have to vote for themselves. And if they don't, I got to get them out of my way because I don't have time.
Yeah, what's
if
wrong
we're
with that?
going to battle, let's say we're in business or somebody works for me and we're going to war every day and it's about your issues and you don't want to put the team in any sort of priority in what we're doing, and we agree to things and you don't do them, and you're creating chaos, it doesn't mean that you're not a valuable person. But you're not voting for yourself. You don't see yourself as having that. And so you do have to curate who you're giving energy to and access and responsibility. And I think that's the same thing in your personal life, is let's say you're dating somebody and you see that person as being incredible and having all this potential, but they don't see themselves.
Yeah.
And you try to help them work through that and they don't want to. They just keep coming back to, a lot of people just build a country around their issues or their insecurities or trauma. And you can't penetrate that country because it's got a mayor, it's got laws and rules. And so if you're trying to do stuff of consequence and contribute in a bigger way, you have to allow those people to do it on their time without, it isn't a judgment that they're not valuable. It's that they don't want to prioritize themselves or they don't have the same ambition.
Well, you just said a good word that we could put to soften things up for people because some people have a problem with certain words. They don't care about the message. They like the wording can sometimes make them get aggressive. So I think like you just used a good word that could be put in a place of judging, assessing. Yes. I'm not
They
judging.
have a vote if they want to collaborate and they want to, just like we were saying, like there's certain people that have to win.
Yes.
And that usually isn't scalable in a team atmosphere.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, all the way.
Jordan didn't win too many championships until the triangle, right?
And he racked up.
And I think that, that's a choice. And so people make their choices and we have the option of engaging or not. I don't think that in any way, though, it's a judgment. I'm not seeing people as less valuable. I'm seeing them on a different journey.
Right.
And kind of how we started this out, we didn't say it, but what we were hinting at is that the master appears when the student is ready. And so oftentimes they're not ready. And so
the master
when they're ready,
the student is ready. Yes. Yes.
Have you experienced that when you've coached somebody where there's a young man
I think like almost every coach goes through that. Literally, even if they don't act on it, that's a way of thinking for them. Sometimes wanting people to do the right thing is letting them learn a lesson on their own, so then they can make a U-turn and come back.
Because being completely honest, sometimes I had to go into traffic myself.
Yes. Yeah. I'm who I'm talking about as well too. Yes.
So
it
is the journey sometimes for people. They have to do that. You described it as, you're pretty happy with the outcome of that, right? And so we can't begrudge them that.
Not at all.
I will say, though, that people that are really, really successful take that advice, analyze it, and use it.
Yes.
And I've seen people do that. And
all for one time.
And I'm like, man, I wish I would have been like that. Like they're like, explain that to me again. Okay, and they ask questions because you can tell they're trying to understand when they start asking questions about something. And those are usually pretty special people. They're the one in a million.
I believe that's what the Mamba attitude is about. I believe that's what Kobe. I believe that's who Kobe Bryant was. I believe Kobe Bryant was a man that if he doesn't do this right, he wants to find out, how do I do this right? How many times, how many reps, and how many times I have to show up on time until this lack in my game becomes a plus in my game. It's very rare, because in boxing, we'll say, if you ask a boxer, what's the most important punch in boxing? He would say a jab. You will go in the gym and see that same boxer not even working on a jab. Shouldn't you know how to defend a jab as well? A fighter would know that and then get in the ring or go into practice and won't even work on jab defense.
Is that the genius of Floyd?
Absolutely.
Because he's countering off of the jab?
Yeah, that's the genius of Mike McCallum. That's the genius of Floyd Mayweather. That's the genius of Pernell Whitaker. That's the genius of so many. Like Andre Ward, it's so many. Some athletes, I believe, they gravitate to whatever it is they don't do the best. Then you have athletes that all they do is they're into reading their own clippings, and they're not even concerned with what they lack in. They look at it like, well, as long as I keep doing this good, you're already good in that. You don't want to add to your game. You don't want to put some more weapons into your, your arsenal. That comes with it, but when you caring and you love the game as much, and you love combat sports as much as I do, that's like the little trinkle things that will probably, like, you could say, get to me on a day-to-day basis. But it gets to me because this gonna sound very strange right here. I don't like seeing fighters get hurt, and it's a hurt business. This is me with my backward stuff. You see that? We just was talking about like people that think backwards. This is me doing that. This is combat sports. But I don't like to see people actually really get hurt. You know what it is? I don't like to see people get unnecessarily hurt. I'll say that. If you're getting hit a lot because your hands is down, you can give me a heart attack by constantly fighting with your hands down. That's who I am as a person. I would not understand, for the sake of it, why you won't get your hands up. Like, you're comfortable getting hit. You know you're getting hit because your hands is here. And now that makes me go into, oh, this ain't about boxing. This is about the person inside. This is how this person is in life.
Yeah.
You got an iron in your house, but every time I see you, your clothes is wrinkled. Why aren't you using your iron to put well, why are you making this difficult? You're around someone that you know is a loser, then you want to come to me complaining about how you're tired of being around losers. You don't want to disconnect from you get what I'm saying? It's crazy.
It's a contradiction.
Yes. And it runs parallel a lot, like in combat sports, because it's the hurt business. So how people really think of themselves, to me, is how much they're willing to protect themselves. And we could say whatever it is we want about Floyd Mayweather, but I know one thing for sure is that he's really into himself, and you could tell that. He's so humble. I tell my son this all the time. Floyd Mayweather is so humble that he'll say, oh, you're strong? Then I know I have to disengage from you for a few rounds and pick at you so you're not as strong. Or you have a good right hand, I can't go to your right hand. So this is how humble he is in the ring.
Which in a sense is honest.
Which is, yeah, absolutely.
He's not biased by his own noise.
No.
He's looking at the situation for what it is and creating a strategy to win, not to be right. Right?
And that goes back to
not to be stubborn.
To the Mamba attitude.
Yeah.
Like, whatever it is you're not good in, whatever it is it take to win, are you really willing to do that? Or for the sake of conversation, you just talking just to talk? You have to treat business, you have to treat people, you have to treat, when the stakes is high, you have to treat everything accordingly. Everything. Treat it as what it is. If this is a mission that calls for you to work harder than you ever had in your life so you can get something you never had in your life, you could take all the shortcuts you want. For me, destiny sees everything. So when destiny don't reward you for what you so-calledly been working for, that means you've been taking some shortcuts somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they come out.
Yes.
Do you find that there's patterns in behavior in the sense, I'll just give you an abstract example, but it's one that I've noticed. People that are late usually aren't good team players because, you know, if we have a meeting and there's 5 of us going to be there and you show up late, you don't have a lot of empathy for everybody else that showed up on time. You're saying that you're not you don't value yourself enough that when you say you're going to be somewhere on time,
you make sure you're there.
You're there early, ready to go. Or even if you run in at the last minute or whatever, it's all related. You can trace those behaviors
into,
and they're cousins. There's, you know, you go to somebody's house and their bedroom's a mess. You could kind of guess how they feel about themselves to some degree, or what they prioritize, right? It could be that they prioritize other things, but that sort of stuff always fascinates me with behavior.
And you go to someone's house, they have just a thing full of dishes all over the place. I used to tell my son, you know how I know when you're ready for the things you really ask me for, son? I said, if I could come to your room one day and you don't even know that I'm coming there to see you, and I show up and all your shoes is in order, your bed is made, things is put to the side. I said, when you get to that level, that's when I know you're ready for the next level of things I'm ready for you to receive. And now, like, every time I go in my son's room, he's 19 years old now, wherever it is that he lives, everything is in order. His clothes is folded. His shoes is always in order. His bed is always made. And his mom have called me at times and literally told me, he's like too organized. Like, he don't even like nobody touching his stuff. And that's because I planted that seed in him a long time ago. It's a book called making your bed has a lot to do with something like your success level, or because in the military, this is the reason that they have, or in the army, have the soldiers, you can't, you get out that bed have to be made. The bed is the element. It's not really about your bed being made, but what they're doing is they building structure in these young men. So the bed is just a small fragment of what they're trying. They're using the bed as a tool, because I truly believe that clarity, some people could literally get, I'm talking about tons of work done in a room that's paper all over the place. Then you got people like me that I cannot function like that. It don't have to be spick and span clean, but things can't just be all over the place. But then you have some people that don't bother them at all. It just is all about the individual.
But I have noticed a commonality in that and self-esteem. Like you're describing your son, and I would assume, I would be curious, that he probably has pretty good self-esteem. And the same thing with the military. That gives you self-esteem when your shirt's tucked in, you made your bed.
Yes.
You know, you're organized,
it puts
and there's no
confidence.
chaos.
Yes.
And so you're saying something about yourself, and that thing is that I'm coming to this and I have value.
Yeah, and it says a lot about self-love as well. Yes, big time.
It's all connected. Okay, summarize the book, Into the Wild.
Don't be afraid to be misunderstood. Don't be afraid to go on your own odysseys to a certain level of, we could say, that human nature would allow. It's okay to be misunderstood. It's not the end of the world if you're misunderstood. Some of the best people in the world are misunderstood. Sometimes your genius is in being misunderstood. All of these things, minus the genius thing, but everything else that I'm saying, this young man, Chris McCandless, he really, really took his destiny into his own hand. He really knew what he wanted to do, and it wasn't about a cheap thrill. He was really soul searching at the highest level. This was a time where phones wasn't out. Somebody would do that now and take pictures of every town that they hit, every journey, every night sleeping. He didn't have none of that. He just had his notebooks. And last but not least, if you feel as though you're living a good life and you're confident about yourself in any aspect, I seriously recommend that you should document everything, because our history, whatever level it is, and our legacy is whatever we leave behind. You know what I mean? And whatever it is you want to leave behind for yourself, document it yourself. No one can tell your story better than you, whether you're here or gone. And this young man, Christopher McCandless, at a young age, his story, it gave me goosebumps. And I was heading into the Junior Olympics, into the place of the unknown, trying to win my first national title to make people proud, to give me like a badge of honor in a tough city of North Philadelphia. And my life felt like it depended on that. Christopher McCandless, he was soul searching and going to the wilderness in Alaska. And he wanted to soul search and do something that he didn't feel he can do, but he was willing to take the chance and do it alone. And on that, he met some good people and came across some good people from different walks of life. And the lesson in that is, it goes back to the not being judgmental. I think the best people in the world is people that's into all cultures, not one culture.
That's amazing. Okay, there's 3 things that I'm going to send you.
Okay.
So have you read The Alchemist?
Yeah, I'm familiar on it. I didn't go all the way through it, honestly. The reason that I didn't, because I feel like in the time, it was very heavy for me to read it. But now I'm at a place where I think that I would love it.
How far into did you get?
Not to 2 chapters.
Yeah, it starts dry.
It starts very dry.
But when it picks up...
Do I come across like you think that I would like The Alchemist?
Oh, I think you would love it.
Okay, cool.
And read it and then let's talk about it.
Yes.
Because I think there's a deeper meaning to it too, but I don't want to...
Yes.
I don't want to spoil it. Okay, so that's one. I'm going to get that for you. You see the GOAT book up there?
Yes.
Have you ever seen that before? The book on Muhammad Ali that Toshin did?
I've seen it, but I never read it.
You see the stand that it's on? So Jeff Koons designed that. And it's a tribute to Muhammad Ali, but it's also a tribute to the other GOAT. So in art, there's kind of two camps. There's the Picasso, and Picasso is by far one of the most successful artists ever. But one of the most influential artists was Duchamp, Marcel Duchamp.
Heard
And
of.
so he's saying he's taking a lot of liberties, Coons is, by putting Duchamp with Muhammad Ali. And so I want to give you a documentary on Duchamp, because the judgment thing and a lot of what you believe is
all the way in that, huh?
Oh yeah, like the whole, like most artists, like Andy Warhol, a bunch of artists.
That's who I was trying to say.
They Duchamp gave him the confidence to do what they did. Like he instilled confidence and non-judgment, and so his views on judgment and what the urinal means, his art piece and all that. I think you would really like, and then the Bon Iver.
Yeah. Oh, I have a beautiful story for you. Do I have time?
Yeah.
One day I'm at home, right? I'm a huge Future Island fan, right? I tell everybody this story because it's probably one of my favorite stories of my life. I'm a huge fan of these guys, right? Music have inspired me and everything. One day I'm home playing with my daughter. I get a message from Future Island's head guy, probably one of my favorite entertainers of all time. Sam Herring, right?
The singer?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey Malik, how you doing, brother? Man, we love that you love the music. We're in LA. We'd love to come to the gym wherever it is that you at. I'm thinking that is somebody playing around, you know?
They were playing a prank on you?
I'm thinking, right? So I'm answering back, but I'm very hesitant and not feeling very good about it, because this is when life is magical. This when I get like nervous, when life do magical things for me like this. So he said, yeah, man, just give me the address to the gym. Can you come tomorrow? I was like, can I come tomorrow? I was ready to leave right there when he said that, and that was the night before. So I gave him a time. By the time I got to the gym the next day, they was in front of the gym. My favorite alternative rock band of all time. So what do I get to do? I get to train them, give them my box.
They boxed?
Yeah, I trained them to some of my favorite tunes of them. We talk about life. We took pictures. We kept in contact even now. That was a beautiful thing. That's the kind of story I wish I had about Marvin Gaye. Them the kind of, like, that's that's the only, I wouldn't even say very rare, that's the only time that's happened to me in my life, where people that I don't know, but they inspired me so much through their music that I got a reach out message, and they was just as happy to meet me as I was to meet them. Now, if anyone know me, know that I could be extremely emotional. I have no problem shedding my tears when something hit me. When I got around them, I had to hold that in for at least 3 hours. When they left, I got in the car and it felt so good to just release and get it out and listen to the music. Oh, one of the best days of my life.
Did you learn anything from them?
I would say this, I connected with them because of music, right? But me and Sam, we talking about life, relationships problems, and things that he was going through with his new missus, and how things was on tour when he had to deal with other artists, and how the struggles was coming on. And some of the things that he shared with me at this time, I was going through kind of the same type of issues in my very own relationship. So when you ask me, did I learn anything from him? I would say no, but what I did learn is we all are in this thing together. And what do I mean by that? Just because sometimes I could put myself in a mind frame, man, why am I going through this? Why is this happening to me? Another headache. And here it is, I'm meeting someone that inspired me from a whole different genre of life, music. And now we just sharing basically stories of life and how he dealing with his trials and tribulations. Some of my trials and tribulations are parallel with his, and we just giving each other advice and then keeping in contact, and then the relationship beginning. And this was three years ago.
So instead of asking if you learned something, it confirms something?
I know for sure you're dealing with things. He, she, we all are dealing with things. But it's very, very
That
rare.
guy right there is definitely dealing with
things.
Look at him.
You look like But it feels good. So it feels good sometimes when people are just as brave enough to open up about so-called whatever. You could say skeletons in their closet or whatever, or just stories. And then that way we can bounce ideas off each other. And sometimes you never know. A piece of advice you can give me, I can carry that through life, and it'll help me get through other oncoming trials and tribulations. And that's what I shared with them that day. And I really appreciated it, man. It still means a lot to me. I tell a story everywhere I go.
I appreciate you doing this. We're going to turn off the cameras and then we're going to listen to Bitches Brew. And you're going to tell me what you think of the system.
Let's go.
Okay.
Yep.